A trio of Texas Tech offensive players are set to hit the portal. We'll discuss who they are and the potential loss for the Red Raider offense. Also, in today's video, we'll discuss the 8 official visitors on campus for Texas Tech football the weekend of December 1st through the 3rd. Who are they, their position groups, and where they could potentially be coming from. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video and hit that subscribe button. I know y'all are loving these recruiting update videos. I can see by the like number how long y'all have been watching for as well, and it's greatly appreciated. But continue to help us out by simply letting us know that you want more of these videos by liking the video and hitting that subscribe button. And while you're at it, you might as well hit the notification bell too to stay in the know on everything Texas Tech football on the gridiron and off of it right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community in the Back to 12 podcast channel. All right, let's jump right into these transfers for Texas Tech. Some of y'all may have already known, but here we go. We got wide receiver Jerand Bradley, wide receiver Nehemiah Martinez, and left tackle, offensive tackle Monroe Mills will all enter the portal according to their own personal social medias. Let's start with Jerand Bradley, though, on this one. Jerand Bradley had a ton of hype, and I'm guilty of it. I thought he was going to have a 1,000-yard receiving year. I was not close in that regard. Now, a ton of factors go into that, some personal for Jerand, but also some that he can't control, right, in terms of quarterback play, offensive line play, scheme, whatever you want to say, right? Some of those are out of his control, right? You look at what he did, though, this year for Texas Tech. He was the Red Raiders' second leading receiver with 431 yards. Remember, this isn't the first time, though, Bradley has had portal talks. If you remember last year, Texas Tech lost their wide receiver coach in Emmitt Jones to Oklahoma. There were some rumblings, let's call them that, on social media about potentially Bradley following Emmitt Jones to Oklahoma. Instead, the 6'5" wide receiver decided to stay at Texas Tech one more year, but now he will enter his name in the portal. It would not shock me at all if he ends up at Oklahoma. That being said, I don't know if that's the case, but it kind of makes sense now in that regard. But he has 2 years of eligibility remaining, and he posted on social media that he would be leaving the 806. Another wide receiver that just said simply, "Thank you, Texas Tech," and then posted his highlights, was Nehemiah Martinez. And talk about one of the weirder cases for Texas Tech football this year, right? Injuries obviously played a part when it comes to Nehemiah Martinez and his production. He had 15 total touches for 100 yards this year. Some of them in the backfield, actually a majority of them in the backfield, 13 carries for Nehemiah this year to only 2 receptions. And if you remember in 2022, he was a guy that had a lot of buzz going into 2023. And again, injuries were a part of that. But much like Bradley, I think that there's other variables there, right? So I'm interested to see where he ends up because he was kind of that Swiss Army knife for Texas Tech offensively. And this one was interesting from the sheer fact of, okay, the writing's on the wall in terms of what Texas Tech wants to do from the wide receiver spot. You have to improve it. And we'll talk about that here a little bit more in just a second. But let's talk about Monroe Mills. And some people were surprised by this one, considering Monroe Mills was the starting left tackle. But I'll give my thoughts after this, I should say, in terms of where I kind of stand on it. But he announced via social media, 24/7 actually beat him out and put out that he was going to enter the portal. Then he officially announced it himself on Saturday, December 2nd. He went out and said that, hey, I'm going to be transferring. I'm a grad transfer. I have 2 years of eligibility left, thanking Texas Tech. But you think about Monroe Mills in 2023 for Texas Tech, he was arguably the most solid offensive lineman Texas Tech had, right? Again, he had some penalty issues for the Red Raiders this year, but he was solid on that left side, all things considered. If you ask me, though, right, I've had multiple people on Twitter, even here in the comments, right, on YouTube, ask me if I'm worried about all these portal entries on offense. I'm not, specifically for wide receiver and offensive line. And the reason being is this. I think the 2 biggest positions on this team that needed a quote-unquote overhaul, whatever that term means to you, going into 2024 from 2023 for Texas Tech, was the offensive line and the wide receiver group. I also want to preface this by saying, do we know it's going to get better by overhauling it? No. But I commend the effort. Now, there's also other factors in play here when it comes to players, right? Some players, do they want to compete for a job or do they just want to outright have one, right? That's something that people need to discuss. There's also obviously NIL. There's playing time. There's proximity to home. There's so many other factors when it comes down to it. But you have to ask yourself, for some of these guys, whether that's, Monroe Mills, whether that's Bradley, is it more of the coaching situation too? Is it more of playing time and wanting to have a sure spot in no competition, or the path of least resistance, I should say? There's multiple factors here, right? And so I think you have to consider all of those. But before we get into who is on campus currently for the Red Raiders, we got to get to 9K. We're almost there. I think we are about 75 away from hitting 9K. Help the Back to 12 podcast channel get to 9,000 subs before the calendar turns to 2024. Listen, we're giving you daily videos about Texas Tech, whether that's Texas Tech men's basketball, Texas Tech football, whether that's on the hardwood, on the gridiron, or off of it when it comes to recruiting news or just news and rumors in general. This is the most engaging Texas Tech community on YouTube. It's not close. So if you want to be part of the Back to 12 squad, hit that subscribe button and notification bell and tell your friends about it too, so you can stay in the know on Texas Tech all year long. All right. At the bottom of your screen, we've got the official visitors list for the weekend of December 1st through the 3rd. I'll read it out, roll call, and I'll give you the schools as well. I just put their names in the position that they have down at the bottom of the screen. We'll start out with Easton Kilty, an offensive lineman from North Dakota. He is on campus this weekend for the Red Raiders, as well as Justin Mayers from UTEP. He's an offensive lineman. Maurice Rodriguez from Saddleback JUCO. Talk about a massive human being. If you want to know more about him, I'll link the video down in the comments below so you can hear a little bit more about his scouting profile. But he is a massive dude. Another massive dude, Alan Heron from Shorter College, D2. Massive dude, already has a Georgia offer and a couple other D1 offers. He's on campus currently right now for the Red Raiders. You've got Javon Jackson as well from Fairmont State, a D2 school. He plays DB. You got Isaiah Crosby from Trinity Valley JUCO, right? DB as well. And then you've got Davon Cromwell from Canada. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the school he went to because I already sound dumb enough sometimes trying to pronounce things on these videos. I probably shouldn't do that. But he is a DB, and he's one of those guys that was actually an all-Canadian DB twice already in his career. Now, the other offensive player that is currently on campus for an official visit is Alex Lyons. He started at Arizona, right? But then transferred to the JUCO route to Garden City Community College. And now he is a tight end, and he's more known as a blocker type, but he's got some solid hands as well. He is on campus for the Red Raiders. So one more time, you can see him at the bottom of your screen. Let's read them out. We got Easton Kilty. We've got Justin Mayers. We've got Maurice Rodriguez. We've got Alan Heron. We've got Javon Jackson, Isaiah Crosby, Davon Cromwell, and then Alex Lyons, right? You got 3 offensive linemen there, and I mean big, big dudes. The smallest one is Easton Kilty, and he's 6'3", 305. Okay, so you got some dudes there, right? Some massive human beings right now being recruited by Texas Tech, and it's no surprise that this is the priority. I had a Texas Tech coach told me simple and plain, we have to get better in the trenches, period. That's what he told me. So it's no surprise that this is the strategy for Texas Tech, really being aggressive early on in the portal when it comes to offensive linemen. One more time, if you haven't already, be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button, as we're not too far away from 9K. If you want to join the most engaging Texas Tech community here on YouTube, simply hit that subscribe button and notification bell to stay in the know on everything Texas Tech football all year long, whether that's breaking news, rumors, recruiting, what's happening on the gridiron. We'll know the bowl game here pretty soon. We'll break that down. Everything and more right here on the most engaging Texas Tech community on YouTube. Of course, I'm talking about the Back to 12 podcast channel.